everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly fishing report for the week of November 17th. There's not a whole lot of river news going on right now, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into river conditions, and we'll talk about the stripers and the largemouth bass. All right, visibility or water temps this week have ranged from about 50 to 54 degrees. Nights have been in the 40s, low 40s, so I suspect that temperature is going to drop a little bit, but you can expect right around that 50 to 54 degrees if you're coming out this week. Clarity has been all over the board. I've got reports from down south where they've had some 2 feet of visibility. Out where I've been out north, it's been 8, 10, 12 feet of visibility, just super clear water out here. I can say that the good reports, the guys that are catching fish and talking about it, they are catching their fish in the more stained water, I'll say from 3 to 5 feet of visibility. So keep that in mind. A lot of hyacinth breaking up. I know the state has been out spraying. When we have stable conditions like this with no wind and no rain, they're coming out, so they're getting in their last couple weeks of spraying. A lot of debris floating down the water. Watch your navigation. There are a lot of small logs, a lot of big logs rolling down the river, so just be careful out there. I will say that it is just gorgeous out here. The fishing is not great, but the fishing's not bad. Everybody's catching fish. They're complaining about maybe not getting as many fish or as big a fish as they want, but just being out on the Delta this time of year, there's no water skiers, there's no jet skiers, very light pressure. The geese are out. I mean, they're cackling or whatever the heck they call it, and it's just very pleasant to be out here. So I highly recommend it if you're a fisherman to get out here and enjoy this while you can, before the dog days of winter arrive in full. Okay, with that, let's talk about stripers, and I'll start off with a conversation that I had with Jeff Suhu this week. And Jeff had a tough week last week, but he really bounced back this week and really got into the fish. Jeff seems to think that we have a fresh run of fish in, and for the last couple of weeks I've been talking to you about what my son Nate has been doing down around Carquina, saying that there's a slug of fish in there. Well, maybe that rain that we had pushed those fish that were out in the bay into the system, San Joaquin and the Delta, and Jeff said that these fish look like very fresh fish, and they're heavier bodied than what he had been catching the week or two before. So that is a really positive sign. Jeff also said he's fishing in a little deeper water, and his suggestion, if you're coming out from now through the winter, don't forget your spoons. Do not discount even 2 or 3 birds that are hovering around. Now, for you guys that may be new to fishing out here, don't worry about the birds that are sitting on the water resting. Don't worry about the birds that are 200-300 feet up in the air. Look for the birds that are hovering over the water in, maybe they can be a couple feet over the water. They can be 10-15 feet above the water. It doesn't take a whole flock of birds, just 2 or 3 birds. If they're in that nervous kind of frenzy where they're looking around, moving, probably something going on, and it's worth stopping, turning on your electronics, moving around, and seeing if you can locate some fish. When those birds are doing that, doesn't necessarily mean that the fish are going to be right on the surface. The bait or the fish could be 20 feet, 30 feet down. Somehow those birds know that it's happening, and they'll give you that first sign that you should stop and check it out. So with that, I'd also I want to give Jeff a hit. He has a few guide days open. He's only fishing the weekends. In the next month or so, he has a few days open. So if you're looking for a guided trip, make sure you get in touch with Jeff Suhu from Suhu Sport Fishing. Before I recommend a guide, I always ask them, are you willing to talk about techniques and do some teaching? Do you go out just to catch fish and give your clients a good day, or are you willing to work with people on how they can improve their success as an angler? And Jeff is one of those guys that if you have your own boat, you're struggling out here and you just need some help, give him a call, fish with him for a day, and really get into him, ask him questions, Tell him that you're going out because you want to learn how to do this, and he is a very good teaching guide. So he'll give you information that you can take and use for the rest of your life. So it's just not a one-day guide service. It's something that it's almost like a day of training for you. So if you're into that and you want to learn something, give Jeff a call at Suhu Guide Service. It's Suhu Sport Fishing is actually what you'd be looking for. But if you're looking just to come out and have some fun, drift some live bait, you control, you can start to spoon, and you're probably going to have those days where you can have better numbers of fish. You can use lighter tackle, follow the birds, trust your electronics, and just come out and have some fun. If you want to keep a fish or two, bring home a fish for some tacos, and that's the way to do it. Largemouth bass. I'm going to talk about the one tournament that we had, and that tournament was the hook, line, and sinker tournament, and 25.7 pounds won the tournament. An outstanding bag, and I wanted to give these guys, the guys that won the tournament, all the credit in the world. I can't pronounce their names, and I don't know how to pronounce them, and I didn't want to butcher them. So whoever you guys are, you did a great job, and my hat's off to you. Here is the more difficult information that I have to report about the tournament. 25-7 won. Second place was 14 something. Third place was 13 something. Over 2/3 of the field either did not weigh in or weighed in under 10 pounds. So the average guys is still pretty much of a grind out here. It's tough fishing. I'm not saying all tournament guys are great, but most of these guys that are fishing the hook, line, and sinker are local guys. They know the river. They've all caught fish. They're not out there giving away their money because they like to give away their money. They all have had success out here, and they're good fishermen. So when good fishermen are struggling, you know that the weekend guys are probably not doing all that great. Glenn was out for 8 hours, 4 keepers to 7 pounds, cranking. He also mentioned that the Tri-Valley Bassmasters had a recent tournament. They only had 6 boats, but 10 pounds won that tournament. Scott, he was out slow, jerk baits. He had 3 bass, 3 stripers. Bill was out for 3.5 hours. He's fishing big break area in a kayak, targeting stripers. He got 2 stripers. One of them was a nice fish, a little over 24 inches. He was using a white swim bait with a chartreuse tail. Glenn, not the same Glenn, different Glenn, he had a 20 fish day on jerk baits. His secret was fishing in 15 feet of water. Caught a couple on an A-rig. Top fish was about 3 pounds. Alex went out, had no bites on reaction baits, went to a drop shot offshore, outside weed lines. He picked up 20 to 30 fish in about 2 hours to 3 pounds. And that was one thing. A lot of people are starting to talk about drop shot. Steve, not me, he was out from 8 to 12. He got 0 fish. Between 12 and 2 p.m., he got 5 fish on a drop shot. Another pattern has been the afternoon bites have been much better than the evening bites, and the bites that are high outgoing tide, that's been the tide you want to fish. We'll talk about, we'll go over that again before the report's over. Tristan, he was out from 8 a.m. to sunset. Good for you, Tristan. That is a long day. He had success, didn't talk about numbers or size, but he was looking for dirty water, and he picked up most of his fish on A-rigs and underspins. KG was out a couple of times, and he has been relying on jigs and even Ned rigs. The first time that he was out, he just did okay. He's been going out quite a bit, and he's been getting a lot of just those keeper size fish. But his last trip, he started fish. Sounded like he stayed with his jigs and worms and started picking up some fish in the 15 to 17 inch category. And I got to hit KG up. He sends me reports all the time, whether he catches fish or he doesn't catch fish. And KG has I think he goes by free spooling. So if you Google up free spooling, you'll be able to watch KG out in his kayak catching a few of these fish. And if you watch real close, he might give up some secrets on that too. So thanks, KG, for sending in that information. I talked to Rob from the Bass Hole. He hasn't been out, but he has fingers out all over, and his his reports have not been good, and I have talked to both the hook, line, and sinker and Outdoor Sportsman, and they're not getting a lot of information either. Probably just not a whole lot of people going out, but the people that are going out, for the most part, are struggling out here for largemouth bass, and it's been tough. And I talked to Rob, and both Rob and Alan Fong. I didn't talk to Alan this week; he's been on vacation, but both these guys that have a lot of experience out here are saying they are still very hopeful that there is going to be a good reaction bite, a fall reaction bite. It may last for a week, a couple weeks, I don't know. And I hope they're right, because I am getting to the point where I think it's getting late for that bite, and I think we may have missed it, and it's just going to be maybe we're going to have to give this fall bite a D. Hopefully it'll perk up, but both Rob and Alan, they like that water to be a little cooler, and it's definitely in that 50 to 55 degree temperature range to trigger, I'll say, the jerkbait bites and the lipless type of bites. And it's been going on for 3 or 4 weeks now, but it just hasn't picked up to where it's on fire. So I'm hoping it gets better. If it does, it's going to have to be in a week or so, week or two, and then it's probably going to be a very short bite. But let's keep our hopes up for a good fall bite still coming. I will also say that for you guys that are looking for the Matt Allen River to Sea tactical wake bait, the one that was in so high demand this summer, and they were having trouble providing the shops with them. Rob got a big shipment in, and he has all the colors. So if you got one but it wasn't the right color, if you go down to the bass hole, Rob's got all the colors, and you'll be able to get the color that you want. I do know that the Outdoor Sportsman in Stockton also has a few. I don't know what their stock is, and I don't know if Hook, Line, and Sinker has any of the Matt Allen River to Sea tactical wake baits. Great bait. I used it this summer, and I really had good luck on that. So if you don't have one, if you're in the bass hole, take a look at them. They are absolutely beautiful baits. You're going to want to buy one. And you guys plug your ears a little bit. If your wives are listening, they come in a nice little box and make a great Christmas present for your husband, or husbands. If your wife fishes, even if she thinks about fishing, you want to buy her one, and maybe she'll let you use it. It'd be a good deal for you. So anyhow, that's out of the bass hole. What do I want to talk about? I'll talk about what I've been doing, and it's fallen in line with what everyone else is saying. As I said before, the afternoon bite is better than the morning bite, and the tide that most people are having the best luck on is that high outgoing tide. With that being said, I have been catching most of my fish on slower moving baits, and I have really been trying to force feed the jerk baits, the chatter baits, lipless type baits, because that's the bait that I like. Those are the baits that I like to fish. I love those bites when you're pop, pop, pop. Ooh, there it is. I know that throughout the winter I'm going to be doing this a whole lot, so I'm trying to stay with these baits, and I'll admit I am getting to be a lazy son of a gun. I'm looking down here, and I've got a nice A rig that I set up. I've got 2 of these. I got another one sitting around here somewhere. I just haven't tied them on my line because I'm lazy. I've got this thing here that I really want to try. I had good luck on it last year, and it's just a chatterbait without a skirt, swing head with a nice Kitech on it. This is going to be good for largemouth and stripers. I just haven't tied it on. I've been sticking with green pumpkin and red and black, and I went out and and this is, I got a bunch of this new stuff and new colors and things, and I'm just not tying them on. I'm lazy, and you can't be lazy out here. You've got to go through baits, you got to go through colors, you got to move around, and that's been a key throughout the summer. If you're not catching fish, move around. It's a great time to be out here, and the fish are biting. There's a lot of smaller fish. There's bigger fish in the mix, but you're gonna have to work for them. So before I sign off, I want to say that next week I have some family things that I'm going to do. I'll probably get out maybe once or twice early next week, but I'm not going to be out here 3 or 4 times. So I'm going to really ask you guys that are out here to send me reports when you're out on the water. Especially this week, it's going to help me determine how the bite's been, because I'm not going to be out here 3 or 4 days. So make sure you send those reports. For all you guys that have been sending reports, thanks a whole lot, and I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully the bite's going to pick up, and with that, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the like button, and until next week, see you guys on the water. Good luck.